Man, thank you, Barcelona and Newcastle. We'll get to that later. But first, hello. The sun is leaking into this room. Man, the way things played out on Tuesday, barring this match at least, it felt like all of the other ties were pretty much confirmed, finished before the first half was even up. Whether it was goals for the leading teams or red cards or both of them, but this matchup, this was fun to watch because there were incredibly clear storylines that Sporting were chasing and that Bodo were chasing. And it was just a question of which path we would be walking down. And yes, okay, Bodo's run had to come to an end at some point, like I said in the predictions video for this round, but you still absolutely have to commend Sporting. Give them their flowers for pulling this off because they did something that Man City, Atletico, and Inter all couldn't. Yes, you can question the quality of those teams in this particular season, but to face elimination, 3 goals is a mountain to climb, but they did their homework following the first leg and were able to exploit Bodo's weaknesses in defense, their left side. Much of Sporting's attack came from that flank, their right flank via Jenny Katamo. But their breakthrough came from a cross from the left that Inacio headed in. Sporting eventually brought everything level in the 78th minute when a penalty was given. No complaints about that penalty, clear as day. And in extra time, Sporting continued to dominate Bodo. Araujo with the winner, Nel putting daylight between the two sides. So very well done to Rui Borges and his side for executing on their game plan. And I guess a lot of people will be a little bit sad to see Bodo eliminated. They never should have made it this far to begin with, right? I'll save you all of the other bits of info about them, like how remote the city is, Arctic city, how small the population is, their 1.5% chance of advancing going into their final match against Atleti, blah, 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 blah. You've heard it all before, and more, I'm sure. But we pour one out for Bodo from our Invisible Cup, who for me showed even more so that while I find there are too many matches now with the additional 2 in the league phase and the playoff round as well, it has also absolutely provided a ton of entertainment. And clubs like Bodo are the reasons why we watch. They are the embodiment of winning against all odds, toppling traditional powers when you have no business doing so, the power of a true team working as a unit, all of those cliches. They were fun. They played some beautiful passages of football. They provided some great memories. Good luck to them in their season, which is starting soon. They played a lot of their UCL in their off season, which is even crazier. This was one of those games that I mentioned was done before the first half. Never say never, anything can happen, etc, etc, etc. But this Arsenal team giving up a lead against Leverkusen at home, I just couldn't see it happening. Credit Leverkusen, who battled the entire tie. They would have had a lead if not for that late divisive penalty in the first leg that Havertz converted. But even if they did make it through with a 1-goal lead, going back to the Emirates with a 1-goal lead, I don't know that they would have gone through regardless. Arsenal would still absolutely be capable of keeping them off of the score sheet. This is a team that has conceded just 5 goals total in the Champions League. Hard to see this Arsenal side fail in this situation because whether you back how they play or not, they are an incredibly tight team that has found a strength and exploited it when it comes to set pieces. But in this match, they showed the levels they have when it comes to general quality and being decisive and taking opportunities when they arise. Declan Rice's goal was a great show of skill, quick control, and a shot that was made to measure for that bottom corner, perfectly placed. Eze's goal, gorgeous and similar in words alone, control, get the shot off quickly, but Eze's was a rocket that blew past the keeper before he knew it was even on his way. Eze, by the way, really starting to catch form with Arsenal. Not that he was bad before by any means, but he's resembling the player that we all remember from Crystal Palace. He's resembling that special talent. Now, can we say that Arsenal have been perfect or that they are the outright favorites to win the tournament? I don't think that they are the outright favorites. You got to chat with the Bavarians but they certainly have the makeup of a team that puts themselves in a position to win in every single game through their tight defending, which, by the way, Raya is a massive part of that. He's been incredible this season through their set piece mastery. And no, they don't play, fluid passing football that you would maybe associate with the Wenger era, but they have individuals that can get them across the line with their intelligence on the ball and general quality, consistent finishing. Next up, they have Sporting, not a team that they can take lightly, an improvement on Leverkusen, a team that defeated PSG and besides the loss in Bodo, were on a 12-match unbeaten run across all competitions before that. Luis Suarez is catching form. Their play on the wings is dangerous, so it will be interesting. Yeah, so this match was finished in the first leg, mostly. There were moments where Chelsea showed that they can get at this PSG back line. And make no mistake, Marquinhos and Pato are not playing at the level they were last season. Last season. Part of that could be down to the instability in the goalkeeper position. You know, having someone like Donnarumma behind you calms the nerves. They've had Chevalier at times, Safanov at others. That could contribute to them not always looking confident, making strange decisions at times when balls are played in behind them. However, what we are seeing from this PSG side is that irresistible attack, I guess that's the good word for it, because yes, there were mistakes from Chelsea's back line, but when PSG are in form, they will punish every single mistake, every single gap that you give them. Again, I thought that PSG weren't incredibly convincing in the first leg, and that Chelsea showed that maybe they could make the second leg interesting at least, but Kvaratskhelia got the start this time, and he didn't let Enrique down. A goal after just 6 minutes. He was running past everyone out there for fun. Barcola killed things in the 14th. Chelsea blew some chances for sure, and Mayulu got a third for PSG around the hour mark. Now, but for me the biggest joke was Liam Rossinier, I always say it wrong, writing notes in stoppage time to hand to Garnacho to pass along to other players. You're writing notes at 8-2 down on aggregate. It just comes across as kind of performative, like, oh, I'm so locked in. There's no value in that note for this match. The players don't care at all. Garnacho's reaction said it all, really. They just want it to end. But yeah, that's a new meme format for the people of the internet. He's already been made a figure of fun amongst, I mean, even amongst some Chelsea supporters who are a bit sick of his shtick at this time. Bad run of matches for Chelsea. But man, that note writing was like Amorim with the tactics board in the FA Cup. Now, PSG, are they back? They are playing really well now, starting to catch form at the right time again. But again, that defense, Donnarumma kept them in it at times last season. And Safanov had to work a ton in this game as well. 9 saves from him. Not all were incredibly difficult, but he still had to make 9 saves, right? So it's similar in some ways to last season where you think of the matches against Aston Villa and Arsenal, where they leaked a ton of chances to their opponents, but the defense would actually worry me even more this season if I'm watching PSG, if I'm a supporter of PSG. Sorry, my brain is tired. Champions League, Real Madrid showed up again. Sure, a red card in the 20th minute always makes things a little easier for you, right? But it's also true that Real Madrid looked dangerous in the attack. Man City looked hollow in defense. And the scoreline could have been way, way higher in Real Madrid's favor. They could have had a few goals in that first half. Sorry, I had to make sure that my computer didn't go to sleep there. Now, after getting the red and going 4-0 down on aggregate, it looked like Man City pulled the plug on this match. Yes, Haaland scored, but he also didn't look bothered about that. It stank of a club that was looking ahead to this weekend's Carabao Cup final, which makes this match a little bit difficult to talk about, really. It's clear that City are focusing on other things, or at least they were after the red card and goal conceded, especially, you know, that being the decider, basically, that red and going down a goal immediately. But Real Madrid, hard to get a clear view of how good they are in this moment, as this was a tie with Man City that saw Fede Valverde put in an all-time performance, a feat he likely won't replicate anytime soon. That's not a knock on his quality. He's an unbelievable player, but sometimes things just align perfectly for you. City's backline being shocking, Valverde having one of those rare matches that come along where you're just incapable of making a mistake, and even you don't understand how you're pulling off some of these things. By the way, speaking of backlines, Real Madrid took off Courtois as there is some fear of injury there. He likely won't play against Atleti, but a lot of this smells of precautionary. Save him from the latter stages of the season rather than risk aggravating his injury further, you know? And Vinicius, he may not have had a great overall performance, but he still scored 2 goals, so you can't ask much more from him in a match where they don't have Mbappe, right? He's providing. But any other time, he still had 3 massive chances missed, which got some criticism from his supporters. He did have 2 disallowed as well. If you had to step away from the TV for 10 minutes in the second half, I hope it wasn't from the 50th minute onwards. What an emphatic performance from Barcelona. What a huge turnaround of their form in that second half as well, compared to their performance in that first half. Because in that first half, Newcastle United were going toe-to-toe. Anything you can do, I can do. Maybe not better, but I can do also. Rafinha scores, Elanga scores. Bernal puts Barca ahead. Elanga brings Newcastle level. Lamine Yamal scores from the spot. The half ends, so no chance for a reply there. But what a first half it was. Lewis Hall and Elanga looking fantastic for Newcastle United. But in that second half, Barcelona really... Oh, bless you, Stephen. Barcelona really arrived. They saw a weakness in Newcastle. They saw a little paper cut that they could exploit and turn into a gaping wound. Sorry about that visual. But they stepped on their throats, so to speak. They saw weakness and they stepped on their throats and ensured that Newcastle United would never get back up. They gave them a beating that a 9th place team should expect from a Barcelona side playing in their first Champions League knockout match at the Camp Nou for some time now. It was Fermin, then a double from Lewandowski, and Rafinha finished it all off with a very charitable goal, we'll call it, from an absolutely checked out Newcastle United backline. They just wanted to go home, man. However, speaking of Rafinha, he was everywhere in this game. This was 24-25 Rafinha out there. 2 goals, 2 assists. He won the penalty that put Barcelona ahead as well. It was massive from him. After that 5-2 win over Sevilla at the weekend, these are great signs from Barcelona that they are starting to hit great form at the right time this season. Similarly, perhaps in some ways to PSG. Also, while he did blow a major chance in the first half, Lewandowski getting 2 goals, especially his second goal, which was really nice, I found. He redeemed himself for that first half miss. Could be so important to how Barcelona finished the season off. If they have an informed Lewandowski through the middle of their attack with Rafinha and Lamine both causing their chaos down the wings, Fermin in behind, yeah, better teams will test that back line out more often, but this is a supreme attack. Barca, Bayern, PSG, top attacking teams. Speaking of Bayern, their match against Atalanta was kind of a formality. It was just an opportunity for Bayern to try to get the biggest aggregate victory of the round, try out a few players, and they did get that biggest aggregate victory of the round. They pulled it off because Bayern were scoring all kinds of goals as well. You had Kane carving one out of nowhere for his second, unreal touch there from him to take 2 Atalanta players out of the play and then just beam that ball into the top corner. Earlier, he, of course, put away a penalty. It's, he's got to do it. He's got to do it every match. 2 minutes after, it was 2-0. Leonard Carl made it 3-0 with an assist from Luis Diaz. Nobody watched it, but my Luis Diaz video went over just how important he is to this Bayern side. Olise and Kane, yes, but Luis Diaz is integral to their success, and he later got a goal of his own. Lovely chip from Luis Diaz. So, Bayern get the aggregate score into double figures. Atalanta get another late goal to leave the match with something, just as they did in the first leg. Frustrating for Urbig with Samardzic unmarked at the back post. No clean sheet, which I'm sure was one of the goals of the game, to keep a clean sheet, but 10-2 is the aggregate score. Bayern absolutely blowing Atalanta away and booking their place in the quarterfinals up against Real Madrid. Again, this is Real Madrid in the Champions League. Anything can happen, especially with Mbappe returning, and Bellingham could be back as well. But this Bayern team is one that will cause Real Madrid's backline a lot of issues. A great performance from Liverpool. They needed that badly. In fact, I have a video coming tomorrow trying to look at why Liverpool had been struggling so much in the Premier League in particular. I kind of siloed those two things off. I'll make sure to mention this win and how it provides some hope for a few things that I feel had been holding them back. But the Prem is another thing altogether as far as their performances go. Anyway, great performance from beginning to end from Liverpool. Galatasaray never really had a look at goal in this match as Liverpool controlled it so well, didn't they? I mean, it was complete domination. The free kick routine in the first half saw Szoboszlai score, and later, if you're a Liverpool supporter or a person with a heart, honestly, that doesn't support a competing club, of course, then Salah missing that penalty hurt your heart. Hate to see it from a guy who has been struggling, has not resembled himself in the slightest this season. However, things would turn around for Mo Salah in the second half. He got a goal that he thoroughly deserved. He hit the woodwork as well. He set up Ekitike early in the second half with a great ball. Gravenberch got one as well from a rebound. 4-0 the final, and something to smile about for the Liverpool supporters. The intensity from which Liverpool started the match, they ended with it as well. It was a wholly impressive performance throughout the game where they actually had a couple of goals disallowed also That's how lopsided this match was. Galatasaray, I mean, as predictable as ever, strong at home, but crumbling away as all of us expected them to do based on every single away match they played in this competition. And yes, they can have that away win over what was I believe, 35th place Ajax at that time, but the rest were all losses. So we saw this coming. The only mystery was, would Liverpool continue to slump or try to use this match as a springboard into some better form? They will have PSG up next, which last season went to a shootout. I don't think it's going to go to a shootout this time. I think there will be goals galore in that tie between these two sides, simply because there are spaces that Luis Enrique will pick out to exploit. And as I went over already, PSG's backline isn't exactly airtight either. And if Ekitike, Wirtz, Salah are finding form, that's bad news for PSG. Tottenham, they actually put in a great shift by their own standards from this season. That draw against Liverpool at the weekend, which was already an improved performance from them, has seemingly, to borrow a term that I said just a second ago, been used as a springboard to potential better performances. This one was. Speaking of better performances, goals aside, Xavi Simons probably had his best performance for Tottenham since his arrival. He looked great out there. And there was always a good chance of this happening because, as we have gone over in this video that I published a couple of weeks ago on Atleti, and in last week's episode I went over it as well, that if there was ever a team that is hot and cold but mostly good enough, it's Atleti. They were hot in the first leg, not completely cold in this one, but mostly good enough to advance, just as they were against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey. Mind you, they were mostly cold in that second leg, but did just enough in the first to still advance. Kolo Muani opened the scoring, Alvarez replied, Hansko brought Atleti level with a driven header at the near post. Simons won them the match, but they fall 7-5 on aggregate. Relatively respectable, almost as respectable as conceding 7 goals could be, you know? But like we started by saying, this was a much more improved performance from Spurs, and it feels like Tudor's teachings, sounds like an educational program, but it seems like Tudor's ways of doing things are starting to sink in for the players. And while relegation never really seemed like a real possibility, it's certainly they've been cutting it close. It's had everyone thinking kind of, well, hey man, this could happen. But no, they seem like they are heading in the right direction now. Positive signs. Atleti, they advanced to take on Barcelona. Bit of a bogey team for them. That 4-0 win aside from the Copa del Rey, followed by a 3-0 loss. I mean, it's been more 3-0s that Atleti are used to suffering than handing out 4-0s to Barcelona. Since their final meeting of the 21-22 season, Atleti have lost to Barcelona 9 times, drawn once, and beat them twice. Not a great record, so we'll see how that plays out. And just a reminder, these are your quarter-finals. Some really, really great matchups. You cannot be mad at that, right? Bayern versus Real Madrid, Champions League heritage right there. Barca versus Atleti. Just went over it. PSG taking on Liverpool as a rematch of last season, and of course Sporting as a potential banana skin, a trap game for Arsenal, who will definitely be the favorites in that one. All right, thanks as always for joining me, you guys. I'll be seeing you next Tuesday for another week of videos. Love ya.